top southern political focus this evening, or economic focus if you want to see it that way. Karnataka Chief Minister Siddaramaiah presented what was personally his 15th state budget, a deficit budget with increased borrowings, but with focus on continuing funds for the welfare guarantees and schemes in an election year. The political focus, as expected, was against the centre, accusing it of unjust allocation of funds to the state, and a political slugfest began soon after the budget speech began, with the BJP and JDS walking out in protest, calling the Chief Minister a liar. Many ways, the budget exchange defines the campaign lines for the Lok Sabha elections. Pratibha Raman with the details.
Karnataka Chief Minister Siddaramaiah's budget speech was punctuated with political accusations of unjust allocation of funds to Karnataka by the centre. As soon as the Chief Minister made the accusations at the beginning of his speech, BJP MLAs walked out in protest and even held a protest with placards accusing the Chief Minister of false promises outside the house.
Policies or the tax devolution what was adopted by the Congress from the time of independence till now. The NDA government has increased by 10% the tax devolution or the sharing of tax, and even the recommendation or the guidelines whatever was given by the RBI governor was taken up in the right spirit by the NDA government, and even the tax devolution has happened as per the tax commission or the 14th and 15th finance commission. As per that recommendation only the tax devolution has happened.
The political slugfest aside, despite a revenue deficit of over 27,000 crores, the budget reiterated the government's focus on welfare guarantees. In total outlay of 3.8 lakh crore, the government set aside 52,000 crores for the 5 guarantees. In total, 1,20,000 crore has been allocated to various welfare schemes. 28 paisa for every rupee spent will come through borrowings. The fiscal deficit for the state is estimated at 2.95% and is within the prescribed limit. The budget accused the centre of causing losses of nearly 60,000 crore to the state due to unscientific implementation of GST, and also over 45,000 crore losses due to lesser allocations in the last 7 years.
And we are just trying to tell the state, central government, look, these are the injustices that are happening. This is the economic inequality practices that you are bringing in. It's hurting the people of Karnataka. We are not against the federal structure. We are not against the devolution of funds. We are just merely asking that let there be equitable distribution.
This Karnataka budget seems to be defining the battle lines that will be expected in the upcoming Lok Sabha election. While the Congress has been banking on the centre versus state narrative, the BJP has been attacking the state government, claiming that they've not been delivering on their promise. With camera persons Kumar and Govind, Pratibha Raman in Bengaluru for NDTV.
He really had a golden opportunity to prove himself. But under the prevailing situation, when the state was under great distress due to drought, Chief Minister has completely let down the farmers. Not only farmers, there is no allocation of funds to education sector. There is no proper allocation of funds to health sector. There is no proper allocation of funds to tourism also. And North Karnataka, there is no mention of North Karnataka development also. So generally, he has just read his budget, 15th budget today in the assembly, but it's not going to help Karnataka's development. In fact, it's going to take back Karnataka at least 15-20 years back.
I think they have gone mad. Something is wrong with them. They one of the best budget compared to all other states. Financial discipline is very much more. 3,71,000. We have kept our promises, whatever we are committed to the state of Karnataka, a Congress government. We feel proud that we have delivered this type of budget.
The present Congress government headed by Chief Minister Siddaramaiah ji, to hide their failures, their bankruptcy, they are trying to blame on central government and Narendra Modi ji. But in fact, in last 10 years, we have been telling this repeatedly. In last 10 years, under the dynamic leadership of Narendra Modi ji, our central government, Bharatiya Janata Party government has given more than 2,82,000 crores in last 10 years for the development of Karnataka.
And we are just trying to tell the state, central government, look, These are the injustices that are happening. This is the economic inequality practices that you are bringing in. It's hurting the people of Karnataka. We are not against the federal structure. We are not against the devolution of funds. We are just merely asking that let there be equitable distribution, which somehow they don't seem to be understanding.
So, is there a strong economic foundation for the accusations at the center, and will the center versus state battle yield electoral dividends for the Congress? Joining me this evening, two highly respected academics from Bengaluru, Professor Narendra Pani of NIAS and Dr. Sandeep Shastri. My first question to you, Professor Pani, is the center, accusations on the center and the fact that funds has not been there for the state government is an accusation that's played out for a while. Is there a strong economic foundation for it? What's your sense as far as when you study the numbers are concerned?
There's certainly a strong economic foundation for it. Some of it is directly political, if you like, in the sense that the 15th Finance Commission had suggested a certain additional payment to Karnataka of over 5,000 crores. That has not been made, though the government, I think, at that time said it would. The more serious and more longer-lasting kind of a problem is that the basis for the devolution to the states, the horizontal devolution, or how the devolution from the center to states is distributed across states, has lost much of its validity. There is a case for equity for the better off states to pass on resources, some of their success to the poorer states. But it has to be understood in the context of the nature of the economy itself. The older finance commissions were functioning at a time when governments controlled economics of their local economy. So you transferred money from the richer governments to the poorer governments. But now, in post-liberalization, we have a much more integrated economy where the developed states are often providing jobs to short-term migrants from the poorer states. So there's already a transfer of resources. In addition, the transfer becomes accentuated because of the shift from production-based taxation to consumption-based taxation. That is the shift to GST. The GST is exercised wherever the money is spent, wherever the expenditure takes place. So workers who come and work in the developed states and go back and spend in their homes, in their villages or other centers in the less well-off states, are adding to the GST of those states. So there's already a devolution, there's already a transfer. This has to be taken into account when we try to come up with an equitable distribution between states. That is, the current formula does not allow for that.
Okay.
There might also be issues on the way GSTP is measured and various technicalities we don't need to go into. But the fact of the matter is that we're using an outdated method of devolution, of what is called horizontal devolution between the states.
You're making a very deep point to both economics as well as societal point. You're saying that this needs to be seen in the context of migration, population movement between the states, as well as possibly revisit the prism with which we understand devolution itself. I'll get back to that in a bit, but Professor Sandeep Shastri, there is a strong political connotation to this argument. The sense is that the Congress wants to localize this election in Karnataka by making this argument, trying to take the sting off the BJP in this. The counter for the BJP seems to be a strong a plank on agenda focused on Narendra Modi as well as Hindutva issues. Do you see the Congress's plank of center versus state being the party being able to carry this to the electoral platform in a campaign? Do you see it working for the party? Sir, you'll have to unmute yourself, sir.
Sorry. I would need to agree with all the points which Narendraji just now made. On the political question that you raised, I think there are two issues. The Karnataka government would need to focus on its 5 guarantees and its implementation and people's perception of that implementation. I think that's going to be more important than this whole South is being treated or is being unfairly treated by the center. That argument will not go down much with the voter as much would be the argument that these benefits have actually reached us. Especially when in your budget, nearly 14% of your budget is for these 5 schemes. It's very clear that this is something that people have to see as working on the ground. And I think that would be the major issue. And the question that there is injustice being done to the southern states, I'm not too sure how effective that would be in being able to garner votes. If I could make one more point, Veera, as Professor Pani said, I think the challenge with the 15th Finance Commission's recommendations was the faultiness of the methodology that was adopted and using a wrong base year of 1971 rather than 2011. And this faulty methodology has impacted in different ways on the different states of the South. So it's not that collectively the South has been done injustice by the North. It's more a question of how that methodology used by the Finance Commission was something which has impacted all these states very differently. But going back to my main point, Veera, I think in the 2024 elections, the battle will be between the BJP trying to present its national leadership and the work that the central government has done, whereas the Siddaramaiah government would try to project the 5 schemes, and the public perception of these 5 schemes becomes critical in terms of whether they are able to garner support on that or not.
Okay, that's an important point that you make there. Obviously, this is a nuanced political and economic discussion. I don't want to tread too much into the technicalities, for it may not be easily done on television. But Professor Pani, I have one very quick question to you. The welfare guarantees and the fact that we are now having increased borrowings in the state government, the fiscal deficit is now at 2.95%. How sustainable is it for a state government to keep funding and fueling these welfare guarantees? Quick response from you.
Well, the quick response to that is actually the budget is very interesting because it goes in for a fairly substantial deficit on the revenue account, almost 1% of GSDP, but still keeps its overall fiscal deficit below the recommended norms. And it does so primarily with through the assumption that private capital will come in anyway. So it's wooing private capital. It has a series of measures that it has taken for that, including an interesting one of subsidizing the efforts of small and medium companies to tap the IPO. It also has suggestions of a change in the public-private partnership route. It has a number of initiatives, but the underlying assumption is that in a liberalized economy, private capital can take care of itself. It's the government job to take care of those who are needy and poor.
Right, important point there again. My quick last word to you, Professor Sandeep Shastri. Do you see this budget conversation that we are speaking about right now define the political campaign theme for Karnataka ahead of 2024? Very quick response.
Veera, the budget will not define popular reaction. How do people on the ground see the implementation of the 5 schemes is what will define public reaction. And I think that's what's more critical, which needs to be seen. How do the voters on the ground look at the response? And how do the voters on that ground weigh that response with what the BJP is putting forward as a leadership in Delhi, which is taking, in their perspective, the country forward in a particular direction? I think it's going to be the competition between these 2 narratives that we will see as it goes forward. The budget in that sense becomes incidental to that.
That's an important point. That's right. It's an important point. Remember, it's a politically crucial state, both for the BJP as well for the Congress as we head into the Lok Sabha polls. Perhaps the most crucial for both these parties in the south of India. We'll keep a close track of it. Thanks so much, Professor Pani, as well as Dr. Shastri, for joining us.